Ladies and Germans, how you all doing? This is Colin Ulrich.
I'm Rangru, hello, hello, hello.
And folks, today we are kicking off our week of the Steel Division Season 3, league. Kind of going off on Ocean North and rank who do we have with what?
Left hand side in blue, we have Shaun playing as Group Partner with balanced income, and right hand side we have her Robert playing Group Terenia with a Vanguard income, and he is taken to the skies immediately.
Kind of like this. I mean, the IL-2KR, obviously not a lot of firepower per se, but this 23 millimeters are more than enough to at least cause a disembarkation. And as you can see right there, was that even a kill? Might have been
No,
even a
just
kill.
disembarked.
I was
Yeah,
going to say.
real. Used to be definitely a much more annoying plane during the start of the game, or the start of when SC2 came out, but now it's definitely in a more nicer state. But we're seeing Robert go for very aggressive play for Northern Town here, just getting into that town with classic flamethrower and sappery troops.
Were you going to say Spetsnaz there?
I was gonna say Sparry, which I have no idea what that means.
Sorry. Actually, I don't even have a pithy comment for that. It's been an awfully long week, I know.
Same, I'm just making up words like I usually do.
Yeah, but you know what? I just always cost it like something like Canadian, something like the secret Canadian codes.
Mm-hmm.
Amusingly enough, actually, with this IL-2 behind and takes out the
What?
ME-109 in one quick burst. Wow, that was embarrassing.
Holy crap.
Wow.
That was unexpected. Holy moly. I also do like how her Robert has five infantry support guns on the northern hill, just blasting array.
Six. Six. You got
Six!
one just below the crest
Oh
as
yeah, it's
well.
just got... Oh god. And he's got an anti-tank gun as well, which also is kind of an infantry support gun. That is... That is just stupid. But I love it.
Well, I think it's something that the Napoleons to call a fait on foe, I think, a point of fire.
Mm-hmm.
So just concentrating all that artillery. And we talk about that occasionally, but usually we're thinking a little bit further off the front lines.
Yeah.
Certainly quite terrifying, especially as you can see right now, it's bringing a ton of stroke of DPs to consolidate his gains and probably exploit that a little bit further. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
he hasn't seen a lot of early kind of reinforcements, and with Shaun taking a balanced income, that's going to cause quite a bit of hassle for him.
Yeah, it's going to be definitely a very tough A phase for Shaun, as I mean, Group Partnik is a pretty damn good division. They got some lovely infantry, but with her Robert really kicking it out of the park already, got a 16-8 flag advantage. That's pretty tough.
Well, and he's not letting up either. He's looking to exploit his successes. Looks like bringing another wave of troops to the north.
Mm-hmm.
This might be a little harder to take. First of all, being inside that territory, inside those barracks and so on, the Jaeger Pioneers always difficult to kind of push out, and the right to the Jaegers there with the MP44s. That I think is going to probably hold a lot better than this center.
Yes, they do have some pretty good firepower.
But wow, actually, Herr Robert is seeing his own troops being pushed back slightly here in the center. This attack over open ground, I'm surprised it's going as well as it is.
Yeah, from Shaun, it's definitely a good play considering that he's noticed, yeah, hey, Robert probably put all his money up north. Let's try to push the center. And people are already scared about pushing the center, not just in this map, but in a lot of the maps. But here, where we see, there's not a lot of troops here. It's slow push with some grenadiers, or panzer grenadiers in this case, and, you know, some tanks like Tiger and Stu. Will definitely make a bit of ground.
Well, and that's the thing too, is that Group Turina over here is very much, I would say, out-vehicled, especially early on.
Yes. Yeah, so the really still classic T-34 spam division, but on a map like this infantry and T-34 spam can take you a long way. Up north we're seeing a bit of an interesting fight in this forest.
It certainly seems to be. I'm actually surprised that the Germans decided to aggress. He's got to
Mhm.
know that he was very much over outnumbered, at least overshadowed, probably the first one I was thinking of. But ME-109 taking out that biplane, picking on that fourth grader. So it's a little bit
Yeah.
unfortunate there.
But it seems like the Jaegers will just be enough to hold off against his Russian aggression here. Oh, we got some more stroke DPs being poured in. And I think the run coming onto the left-hand flank here up the road will get a good base of fire. Never mind, he's going to run into a Panzerschreck.
Oof. Oof. Now, looking outside of that, though, interestingly enough, we are actually back to, it was a 12-12, now it's a 13-11.
Holy
So
moly.
all of that massive, let's say, improvement here is just completely gone. Yikes. And that used to be a barn.
Oh god, the infantry just the infantry is getting a lot of support. They cannot complain in that regard. But yeah, you're right. I'm really quite surprised how quickly Shaun has managed to turn the. He hasn't completely turned the table yet, but he's almost got it flipped over to his advantage. But it's really due to his central push, which is being bogged down a bit as his infantry sport guns pound his tiger array, but he's got good momentum in the center.
Well, I'm actually terrified right now because all we're waiting for is waiting for him to get freaked out just a smidge more, and then I guarantee the superior PPSH is going to just
Oh
crash the
yeah,
party.
I completely forgot about him. He could. He's very close in getting into range.
Well, I guess beyond that as well, now actually we have Resist 2 that's setting up, and the Resist 2 actually might be enough. Maybe he just wants to save that PPSH for now. He doesn't want to
Yep.
kind of give away that particular ambush position. But no, he's actually going after the Stu. It takes that in one shot.
Oh
Jeez.
jeez.
And redeploy. So, yeah, making a redeployment. Good call. Looking outside of that, actually, to the northern town. The northern town is securely within Group Tarina's control here, and in fact was even threatening going further. Ooh. Tiger, I think, is going to bite the big one. And there we go.
Yep. As these two got into a very good position. And that's pretty much going to shut down Shaun's central push.
You know, the sarcastic kind of portion of me, which I know I never reveal in these casts,
Never.
kind of makes me wonder what push really kind of happened here. It's really been all Herr Robert.
Yeah, he's really been playing the majority of the aggression so far. But for now, Shaun is only at 11-13, a minus one advantage. If he can hold on for the rest of A phase like this and get into B phase and hopefully start trading a bit better so he doesn't completely lose his entire front line, but same time, Herr Robert has a lot of infantry on this map, and infantry is pretty important on a map like this.
Well, the thing that's kind of mildly interesting to me is that from a vehicle perspective, this should not have been quite so devastatingly powerful early on. Say what you want to, but Ocean North, if you can control the approaches coming into the towns, then it really should be over really quite quickly against any attacker.
Yeah.
But I think we mentioned this early on, those 76-2s in the middle, and actually now we have an off-map to the north calling in this first barrage. That, to me, I feel like has been the real kind of critical, let's say, power multiplier through this replay.
Yeah, just that barrage of fire support from that hill. Pretty much guaranteed Robert to capture that hill. And then once you get into the flanks of this map, you don't really need heavy anti-tanker. T-34-76 is just as deadly as a Tiger tank, really. And you got many T-34s in Group Tirania.
Well, the thing I'm also kind of I'm not going to say fun per se, because it kind of sends the wrong kind of thing to these poor digital troops. But there is such a wealth of infantry that's being supported here. It's not just Strokies, it's Strokies DPs, it's those Tango Desantniki. We're getting a very kind of wide-ranging, let's say, Soviet push here that we normally tend to see Strokie spam, or we tend to see, just a, obviously not with these guys, but like a guard kind of spam. So we're seeing a lot of different infantry being deployed to kind of compensate for the deficiencies of other squads.
Mm-hmm. And just with pretty much all your bases covered, you got CQC troops, meat shield troops, and then fire support troops. It's a very scary blob to deal with. Really, I mean, this is one of those things where you need a mortar to really even out the advantage.
Or even any kind of artillery. I'd take anything at this point. He's got these FK-288s, which, I mean, captured this gun, definitely there. We can definitely use these. But they're just not getting the amount of usage I might have expected otherwise.
Yeah.
Seeing down to the south in the meantime. Briefly, Shaun had controlled the eastern slopes of Mount Doom here, but looks like he's going to get overwhelmed and pushed back. Astrokis take the house, and I think now should probably keep... Nope, he's not moving him up. He might have been able to keep those Jaeger Pioneers at arm's length because of it, but that will not be happening now.
Do you like his T-34 down south, trying to kill his one PTR squad to keep throwing smoke after smoke?
Yeah, and it's kind of embarrassing to a certain extent that he lost his transmission.
Mm-hmm.
And just embarrassing. I'm just going to keep it at
that. Now he's a turret.
But up to the north, I mean, there are glimmers of hope every occasionally. Right there, Panzerschreck takes out a T-34 before buying the big one himself. But every single time he kills one, the Soviets come back more powerful than they can possibly imagine.
Yeah, and we got even more infantry spam being brought in to really reinforce this just death blob of Soviet dudes. This is not Shaun's in a not very good position up north.
We are getting a bit of a scratch defense. It caught Tiger here, Stu there. I mean, we're getting bits and pieces, but the problem is the income is only barely going into his favor now.
Mm-hmm.
I do like the addition, maybe these couple of MGs over here, trying to slide him on this center hilltop to keep at least things at an arm's length. But again, there's more troops in this northern breakout, I think, than there are of Shaun's troops across the entire map.
Yeah. Yeah,
and I don't say that to be harsh, but just like it's very, very difficult for me to believe there's going to be an opportunity for him to turn his back around.
It's this SD2, it's Georgia's infantry spam. I'm quite surprised that someone hasn't brought up any of the Hungarian troops. I mean, Reiter Jaegers, they're alright, but really what makes Hartneck a powerhouse is the Hungarian motorized troops, because they can really hold their own against this Soviet horde. And we haven't seen any, we're just seeing some Ursat trooping down south.
Yeah, and you know how I feel about those.
Yeah, they're not going to win this battle.
And Su-85 being brought in just as kind of like, I think, a little bit of an FU. He knows that there's a Tiger there. Now, final barrage is going to get dropped over here onto this T-34-42. This is Boita, as well as what looks like that. It's a Pigran? Yeah. But yeah, very, very strange deck being built here. Commandant being brought on in, which I sort of get, but that's something you bring in a heck of a lot earlier, or a heck of a lot later. You don't do it right now.
He really needs to try and make a push somewhere else. His far southern side is really his best bet. As we can see, it's the more lighter in terms of troops, but at the same time we have a Soviet tank platoon nearby in case things get a little bit hairy.
Well, right now too, you can see he's just kind of doing a counter thrust to the northeast B2s, which again would be brilliant if it was just still with this infantry spam. But it's unfortunately for him, he's got to know that he's heavily, heavily outmatched in terms of firepower.
Yeah, it's a lot of infantry, and then the open field part. Oh no, he's going to be hooking them down south through the forest, which is a bit risky. They do have recon optics, but it's still a risky proposition.
Yes, it certainly seems to be. Now, we are seeing in the meantime, though, I was going to say another flag has fallen, but no, just the last German defenders hanging on to the edge of that town did go down. So we're left with one Pigren and a couple of damaged vehicles as being basically the entire left central position of the German Reich here.
Mm-hmm.
And here you go. Hungarians are finally coming in, but I feel like they're coming to... Yeah, it's not the worst place for them, but I feel like they're about 3 minutes too late.
He's going to try and do that southern assault, which actually is working. I mean, yes, that's I would say working right now. Strokey are holding. Actually, okay, never mind. They got two Sarnia as trooping thanks to the commander, so beat out the Strokey. But once you capture Southern Hill, there's not really much else where Shaun can go. His best bet from here is to try to take out Northern Town, or Southern Town, just north of the southern position, if you catch my drift.
Mm-hmm. So you're talking about, where we have that, where he's got the Grenadier Fuhrer, the SS troop, and
Please. That'd be a nice 2 flags to try and even things out, but there's enough map artillery here now, so what's going to happen is, if he tries to push in, he's going to be greeted by a bunch of artillery that will be coming, not on the map, but off it.
You know, he has taken the slips again to the south, but he's given away more territory to the north. Now, the interesting thing for me is that these P2 prototypes absolutely annihilate any kind of Soviet material that's there, but they're expending a lot of firepower to do it one squad at a time.
Yeah, I have a feeling that Shaun has kind of given up on the northern approach. Honestly, I don't blame him at this point. I think he'll use his Ersatz trooping to try and capture that flag where the P2s are. And if he was to capture the town down south, I think he can even it out. Or get a much nicer advantage towards him. Here he goes, got one little flag down south on the town.
At least for the time being, yeah. I mean,
Mhm.
we do have a couple of Maxims sitting behind the lines to start shelling there, but it is possible.
Yeah. And the off map being dropped in on the machine gun team. But even though he's in a really bad position, he's still swinging. He's still pulling his punches. Like, he can make something happen down south. But I don't think it will be enough, just considering how Robert's just dominant up north. And there he goes. Here comes Soviet tank platoon up north.
Well, the Tiger did go down. I think that was just a consequence of just being constantly shellacked.
Yeah.
Might even be the SU. Yep, I think it's the SU-85. He's missing one APCR shell. But one thing you're not going to do is you're not going to turn this back around by bringing in 4 SDKFZs with air such machine guns. I'm sorry. I really desperately want to be super supportive of the machine gun play because we don't see him enough, but I don't think that's going to be enough here.
Oh, and the T-34 is up north for bloody 3-star veterancy. Yeah, the Panda 2s are quite good.
Well, 2 did go down. I'm kind of reminded of that Mech Warrior cinematic where it's like, oh look, I can take a 20-ton thing into an Atlas and see what happens. Which kind of hits me the same way that like that's how this kind of fight is going on here.
Mm-hmm.
As Airsoft troopmen are running into the Soviets, cheering and singing songs and surrendering immediately.
Yeah.
More Airsoft waves being deployed to the south, even as another wave of Strokies gets thrown into the northern side here. As I think he's just kind of going to roll up an entire flank.
And the question is, will how Robert push hard enough to actually capture the spawn point?
Knowing how Robert, I feel like that's the kind of style that we will see, but I don't know if necessarily it's going to happen.
Yeah, just by holding that like very northern flag is more than enough. The tank does need keys in a good defensive position. And it's just, even if he does lose that forward position, he has a second defensive position right behind him with a boatload of dudes. And he still has the infantry support gun line.
Yes, and that's the thing that I think, again, that has been the critical piece early on here.
Mm-hmm. Usually, as we usually see in this map, holding those hills is very important for being a base of fire. But we haven't seen this much fire on this base in quite a while.
True. I think we are going to get a spawn cap here. We are actually seeing a couple. We see the command vehicle does go down again to a right of Panzerschreck.
Mm-hmm.
So there is small moments of hope here, but it's just kind of a small moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to cheer for it because, again, Group Partnik, like you said, definitely a crowd pleaser. And down south, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So down south, we are going to see a bit of a push here. Airsuch troopmen are not going to be able to stand up to firepower of T-30s, T-34-76s, Komrotis, Strokies. I mean, this is a whole mess of material.
Mm-hmm. I think it's a very good example of the difference between balanced income and Vanguard income.
Mm-hmm.
Like, her Robert pretty much played Vanguard and how you have to, which is just throw everything in the kitchen sink in those first 20 minutes and hope to God you win. And he just managed to put, enough of an offensive pressure to knock out Shaun, and Shaun just did not have a good A phase in terms of unit availability or real positioning. You really needed some more firepower units early on.
Well, and let's add a little bit of something extra here, too. There should have been a lot more artillery being deployed by Shaun here.
Just for you do get bloody mortar half-tracks. And I always vouch for mortar half-tracks. I know we don't see mortars, or really artillery often in 1v1s. By God, they can be huge force multipliers in actual infantry fights.
Yep, even the infantry support guns, which for so long were just a giant joke.
Yeah.
Now, there is maybe a half a breath here to the south, as a lot of the Russian defenders here in that southern town are, for the moment, quite terrified. And actually, we have ourselves an ME-410 coming on in, the 15mm AP. Can he see a target? He does, but he attacked ground.
Yeah. As a blind strafe.
A gutsy maneuver there.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, Cotton, it did not pay off.
Oh, he's just pounding ground. 'Cause,
Well, meanwhile, the 15mm AP, 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 town to the south becomes a newly christened city of Pound Town. As building after building gets absolutely blown to pieces.
Yeah.
It's 17-7. Very, very quickly, I imagine, going to go back to that 18-7 here. 18-6, rather, excuse me. As Strokey kind of get thrown in from every angle. And there's this kind of like rather surprising bastion of Wehrmachtness. The T-34s, supporting T-34s and Airsats MGs. These Strokeys right now are coming in behind just to kind of like stab it in the back.
Yeah, oh, now they're getting flanked by the SUs and T-34s up north, getting a few shots on. Shaun, he's meant to capture that southern town, he's got the bloody tiger in there, but he's about to face some rather nasty off-map artillery fire.
Well, ME-410 comes in, makes it a kill. But I think it's pretty safe to say that this is way too little, way too late, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I guess I'm going to be continually confused. Honestly, Shaun, if you are watching this, please, if you can help me understand with the deck build that has late-game Airsats trooping. No, and I don't mean that to be divisive, but it's like, it's Airsats trooping we've talked about. I don't build them in, but you're there to be at the beginning of the game to kind of hold the ground and just wait and kind of soak up casualties.
Yeah, I find it really difficult in run build decks to justify taking Airsats trooping because they're usually 5 points cheaper compared to 20-point infantry, which a lot of the Russians get, and they're much worse for being 5 points cheaper. Yeah, and it's the same thing. If they were to be 10 points, it would probably be too cheap because of the whole 5 point step point system. It's a lot of points. That's my point.
Well, you're absolutely right with that. Kills and losses over here, not too much. That's really, how do I say? It's not too. I don't know. There's not a lot of kills to say to highlight any one particular.
Yeah, everyone did share. But Shaun, considering how much territory he lost, he was killing quite a few guys. Only a 500 difference, or 400 difference roughly. So he was punching all the way through. Just all that punching resulted in losing lots of territory. Yes,
and unfortunately, a lot of brave Hungarians never got to actually show their fighting prowess on the battlefield. But hey, maybe they can go back and see their mothers now. So that's a minor victory in itself too. So, but no. Any last thoughts today, sir?
None.
Well, folks, in that case, then, until next time, I'm Con Ulrich.
I'm Rangru. Take it easy.